Hey, you're watching Half Asian Tarot Queen, and yeah, I started working with a couple new decks yesterday, and I like these decks, so I'm gonna stay on that roll for today, and see what we get. All right. Wow. Okay. I'm just gonna pull like. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so at the bottom, we got hidden knowledge, Akashic records, and silent understanding, which this really seems to be like kind of like tapping into your guidance for like wisdom. And then we have power over difficulty, reclaiming your power. And we have soul radiance, Phoenix rising. So it's interesting because I was going to say after this, like, this really seems like kind of like figuring a way out of like a complex problem, and really kind of having to like tune in for the answer. It's funny because I was just responding to this because like I'm a cheesemaker, and one of the other cheesemakers was like kind of grumbling about and the dysfunction in the system, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of why I've been staying off the grid, because there's like sort of like this freedom of like not having to negotiate with people, especially when it's like something that's like a new technology, and like, there's lots of people with egos that have opinions about how things should be done, but they might not actually have experience. And so it's just like, I don't want to have to like spend time negotiating that. Like, I just want to like make the solution. And so I don't know where all that came from, but it seems related to this. But it's just sort of like there's a complex problem, and like maybe the sort of like obvious way forward isn't actually going to be the shortest path to the outcome that you're looking for, because it might be time to like follow your intuition. And so yeah, like for myself, it's just like I've been like just kind of like following my intuition. So it's just sort of like knowing when it's time to like plug back in, because like I kind of know for myself that like I feel like I'm being led in another direction, and part of it is like family stuff, but like in the end, like things are going to work out how they're supposed to. So it's just sort of like sometimes when things are complex, it's like best not to like over intellectualize and to like follow your guidance, because that's tapped into like a higher perspective than maybe you can see, with your eyes. So yeah, it's sort of like, I think also by tapping into that guidance, it's going to help you to reclaim your power, because sometimes the path forward to somebody else on the outside is going to look different than what your guidance is telling you. And it may be logical what other people around you are thinking, but it might not be the right path for you. And so in the end, it's just sort of like you have to kind of like reclaim your power, and like, what's it going to take for me to be able to like move forward? Because that's ultimately when you're in your power, and when you've like built a foundation on like the situation that's going to work for you, that's the Phoenix rising. So it's like, I feel like this is a message about like not getting distracted by all the noise, and what other people think is the best outcome, and like really kind of honing in on like what the best outcome is going to be for you. That's the answer. Okay, So I'm now going to go to the Light Seers, and I'm going to pick some cards. Yeah, it's kind of like the Ukraine, you know, like they're in this totally messy situation. And there's all these people that have opinions about what they should do, you know, but like at the end of the day, like a lot of them aren't really helping, you know, and they're just like, they have these agendas, you know, but like, you know, like a lot of, for example, a lot of people in Europe are still buying energy from Russia. So like their solutions might not be the best for Ukraine, you know. And so at the end of the day, Ukraine they have to do what's right for them, you know, because that's what's going to help them to reclaim their power. However, it's like they still need help, you know. So, you know, at the end of the day, the situation is more complicated than you can really intellectualize. Okay, these two kind of came out together, so I'm just going to leave that like that. Okay. So at the bottom of the deck, we have the Ten of Swords. So this is, it's kind of like the end of suffering, but it's like rock bottom. And it's like, how are you going to get out of rock bottom? I mean, the thing that I was thinking of is like the reading I just did about the toxic situation, and it was all about Mariupol and like how it was just, it's just going to be so like messy and nasty, but like also might end up being this huge turning point, because it's like, how much lower are they going to go? I mean, yesterday they just like bombed the holy hell out of like the steel plant, and it's just like, I mean, it's just so brutal and so evil, you know. It's just like, how much worse can you get than that, you know? It's like rock bottom. And so we have the Tower, we have the Nine of Swords, and we have the Hermit. So this is really speaking to this just complete like catastrophic situation, you know. And that's just kind of happened, and this person is just like totally overcome by fear and anxiety and like not really sure what to do. And so this is kind of speaking to like really taking a moment to tap into your own wisdom and into your own guidance, and just kind of step off the grid, because that's kind of, you need to have clarity before you like can really move forward. But then we have the Eight of Cups, which is like walking away from a situation that no longer serves you. This is under the Tower, and it's under reclaiming your power. So it's just like some situation is coming to an end, and it's catastrophic, and it's like having to like figure out a way through this darkness, you know. But we have these two fell out together, the Ace of Cups and the Two of Cups. So there's like this message of love coming in, and there's like this deep connection that it looks like it's like lifting this person up, you know. So it's almost like how all these countries have kind of come around like to Ukraine to like help, and they're like there, and they're like trying to figure out how they can help, you know, without like really sort of getting pulled into like World War III, you know? And so like, but it's gonna take help. But it's just sort of like, you kind of have to tread carefully, because you got to stay grounded in your own reality, and like what's the best path for you to figure out like what help to take, and like what's gonna like actually help you to like move forward and navigate towards the outcome that's in your heart, that's like your destiny, you know? And that's what's gonna help to manifest this new beginning. Interesting. When I picked up this hidden knowledge card to show it, there was like hostilities. So like conflict and unrest. So it's like, what I'm really getting out of this is like, it's just like a tricky situation. You're gonna need help, but it's like, you don't want to just indiscriminately take whatever help comes, because that might not actually get you to where you need to go, you know? Like, for example, just related to this Ukraine crisis, you know, like the president of Germany was gonna go visit Kiev, and they're like, we don't want you guys to come right now. And like, I get it, you know, like they're the ones that are purchasing the most energy from Russia. So they're actually subsidizing indirectly the war, you know? So they're just sort of like, we don't need your help right now. Like, you know, and that's not rude, you know? It's just sort of like their agenda is not in alignment with what they need right now. So like in order to have clarity, like I think they need to like focus on the solutions that aren't biased against what they need, you know, and they need to have like total clarity about that to manifest their way out of this, instead of more of a morass, you know? So yeah, it's intense. This is an intense reading. Shoot, I just like, right when I said that, like I was trying to get this deck that was at the bottom of this pile of decks, and like right when I said that, like all the decks just like totally exploded all over the place. So it's just like, this is an intense situation. It's just like exploding decks. And then these two cards just flew out. It's like Judgment and the Ten of Swords. Like, this is the end, rock bottom, but like a judgment is being made. So it seems like, you know, there have been like messages about like, it's always darkest before the dawn, you know, like also coming out. And then this card also flopped out, the Extremes card. And like, that's kind of where we're at, where it's just like, it's like basically rock bottom. And like yesterday there was like a message about discernment and like really being super thoughtful about how you move forward from here. And I think that's kind of what this moment is about, because this is like a moment of like profound change. And so you really want to be intentional about how to move forward. But at the bottom we have realization. So it's like, yeah, you can see we're going from the darkness into the light, and there's a change that's happening. We're walking through the portal. And then we have sovereignty, which fell out right over like reclaiming your power, which is interesting. And we have balance, which fell out right over this. So some extremes are going to have to be released in order to pave the way or open the door to move forward. And that's kind of where we're at right now. But don't lose faith, because balance and sovereignty is on the horizon after this gets released. But we're walking through the doorway, and there's a new light on the horizon. So keep the faith.